we've talked a lot about how important this is, what employees get out of it, what employers get out of it. That brings me to my next question, which is, whether you're the employee or the manager, how do you convince your organization and build the case that these kinds of projects should be funded?
So we have a couple of data points on this, which I will go to in a second. But my answer to this is, I don't know that you need to make the business case. I feel like the business case is there. And the reason I say that is what we see in the marketplace is when we ask executives about skills development, they almost universally say, yeah, skills development is a really big problem and it's putting our business strategy at risk, that we can't get the people we need to execute on our business strategy. I don't feel like we need to go to leaders with our hat in our hands and say, pretty please with sugar on top, help us do learning. I think most executives are already on that bus. The problem that we see is twofold. The first is, in many organizations, learning belongs to, and I do that with air quotes because learning belongs to all of us, but learning is measured by and often controlled by HR. And that's because part of skills development and career development is an HR responsibility. And there are a lot of really good reasons to have some centralized viewpoint. And also because HR folks tend to be pretty steeped in the science of learning and the science of development and know some of those things. But the challenge is that our HR folks are really busy right now with a lot of critical priorities. We've got this issue with retention. We have issues with engagement. We have DEI work going on. We have workforce well-being issues and burnout. We have compliance. We have a lot of stuff happening. And the challenge is, with all of those things going on, reskilling and upskilling falls down the priority list, which is not to say HR doesn't care about it, because they really do. I come from an HR background and most of my network is HR folks. And what I hear from them is that they're struggling to try to find the ways to do all of these things. And it's hard. And so the result of that, the outcome of that, is that some of the responsibility for this starts to fall on the lines of business. The lines of business are the ones stepping up to the plate and saying, okay, it's 6th, 7th, 8th on your priority list, but it's the top of our priority list. So we need to figure this out. So what I always say is, I think this needs to be collaborative in a really meaningful way, that HR brings some very important viewpoints and perspectives and also some tools and resources and knowledge to the table. But the lines of business also need to come to the table with an approach and with a commitment for that time, that coaching culture, those things that they're going to do to make this work. And that in turn is what creates that overall strategy that works. So I haven't really seen organizations struggle to get funding when they have that good comprehensive plan that says, we know what we're trying to achieve, we know what metrics it's going to impact, we have a strategy for really making this work. I don't think any executive is going to push you out of the room when you try to make that case. But I think when you just throw a statement of work on the table, or you throw a purchase order on the table and say, we want to buy a this or we want to buy a that, I would question that as an executive. Okay, you want to buy a that? What are you going to do with it? How is that going to work? And so that goes back to all the things we've talked about before, about applied learning, about learning culture, about the manager's role, about all these other things that underpin the success of those technology investments to mean that they actually produce a learning outcome that's valuable to the organization.